culture around it seems really interesting to me. Where early on, before COVID, right, before we had to wear these. By the way, it's my Sub-Zero mask.
I like it. I like it.
You know,
Are you getting ready to like throw
I
out?
mean, you never know, right? You never know.
Fight!
I'ma tell you that you're not my competition.
Hey guys, how's it going? Dylan Reese, President and CEO of the Wichita Wolves esports team. Joining us today, Mayor of Wichita, Brandon Whipple. Thank you for joining us. Really appreciate you coming on.
Of course. Thanks for having me on.
Of course, yeah. So I know that this is like super exciting for a lot of you guys. If you're any staff, players, or just a fan for the Wichita Wolves, you know that we're deeply like embedded in our city and our community, and we really want to bring and cultivate esports culture here in Wichita. So I have like a couple of just fun questions, just so we can kind of break the ice,
Sure.
and so maybe the viewers can kind of get to know you a little bit more. So tell us, if you can, what was one of your favorite video games growing up?
Undoubtedly Mortal Kombat.
Really?
So yeah, and it kind of messed me up for a little bit because I was probably too young to know about. It was a graphic game
Yeah,
when
for
it first
sure.
came out, right?
Yeah.
So Mortal Kombat 1 came out, and we used to go to like this camp every year, and they had an arcade, and I remember dumping like $10, which was a lot of money back then, in quarters.
In
to
quarters,
beat
yeah.
Mortal Kombat
Sure.
1, but it was amazing. And then and once in a while you'd see a fatality, and that kind of blew my mind, but then also gave me nightmares. And then my favorite game of all time is Mortal Kombat 2.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
It's a classic.
Right, and I don't know, you might be too young.
Oh, no, I
for
played
this,
it.
but-
Oh, I played it, for sure.
So, and I still play it. Like, that's like one of the crazy things is I found out a Mungeon exists,
Yeah.
like, which is like the fans took over
Yeah.
and made all the games that we all thought, we
That's
actually
crazy.
wanted to play when we were
Yeah.
kids. So I actually now like to, after like a tough day steering our city through COVID,
Yeah.
I'll actually go down and play Mortal Kombat 2, like one of the Mungeon alternative
Yeah.
versions of it, which in my
Kind of like as a stress reliever, kind of.
right, and in my mind, you live in the dream then, right?
Sure.
So like, I also have a bit of an arcade set up with a kind of a hacked Pi,
Oh, gotcha.
Raspberry Pi,
Yeah.
and the joysticks and everything, and the way it's set up, and yeah, growing up that was the dream that I could go and play the
Sure.
real Mortal Kombat games at my house utilizing.
Yeah. Because
Yeah.
the cabinets, like back then, they were like really. I mean, they still are. They're super expensive. So like,
Oh, they are, yeah.
it was like supply and demand. Like anytime you wanted to go play Mortal Kombat, you had to get a bag of change and go down to the arcade.
Oh yeah,
Or, like,
yeah.
the
No, that
movies or
was
something.
like, that was like the best Saturday, right?
Yeah.
Like I remember, man, because they had hidden characters.
Yeah.
So when you had like Reptile and Mortal Kombat 1 and then Mortal Kombat 2 came out, like, oh, you can play Reptile. Like it
Yeah.
was this incredible.
Blew your mind.
Yeah, like oh, this is and the people who actually I guess designed the game and put it in
Yeah.
place. Really had their ear to the fans, where they would take. It is, I think, what this is years. I'm 38 now, right? Like, so I'm still a fan of Mortal Kombat. Literally bought an Xbox One only to play Mortal Kombat,
Yeah.
like the newest one,
Yeah.
which I do periodically. But it was also, I think, because of their marketing. Like, they actually listened to the fans,
Yeah.
and when fans would come up with fan theory. They would make a character around it, like
Yeah, for
like
sure.
when exploit the bugs in the games, and then see that the fans were buzzing about like Ermac, which was actually like mid-Mac era
Yeah.
when one of the ninjas turned red. So they actually created a whole character out of that. Like
Yeah.
they just fed into it. So, anyways, that's my favorite game. I wish that my life would have been different if I could have gone professional.
Yeah, oh, yeah,
You know,
yeah, yeah.
playing
Hey,
Mortal
there's still
Kombat.
time. There's
Right,
still time.
so
if
the,
we need a Mayor Whipple Wolves jersey, we can make that happen.
oh, get me
Actually,
in there
that's
with
that's
that.
actually in production as we speak right now. So
So there's a guy who owns an arcade downtown.
Yeah.
And
is it called The Arcade?
I think so. I
Yeah.
think it's that. So, and he has all the old stuff, and he like he brings it back up to par pretty much. Like
Sure.
he gets upset when when he doesn't have the original motherboard going, right? When he has like a Pi going instead. So anyways, so he's a classic arcade person. And I remember playing him for about 2 hours on Mortal Kombat 2 because he was some like world champion at some time. Like in
Wow.
yeah, over in he was telling me about he was I think I beat him like once. But it was
Hey, that's
it
a
was
feat.
tough, right?
That's a
Like
feat.
it was tough, but it was one of those like he was telling me about tournaments in Chicago and then when I met you guys, it made me think of that. Where
Yeah.
like, wow, how far has this come?
Yep.
Right? Where I mean, this guy had to travel to Chicago and go play these on actual arcade machines.
Yeah.
And here, you know, you guys are here. We're in South Wichita right now.
Yep.
Like you guys are right here. You got this incredible setup.
Thank the power of the internet, man. It's
Right,
insane.
and you know, and really anyone can kind of learn this. You
Yep.
don't have to talk your parents into giving you $5 to head to your arcade.
Yeah.
So
It's honestly crazy to me, like how far the video game industry specifically has come. So like the example you gave was like Mortal Kombat 2. If you put Mortal Kombat 2 and like the newer Mortal Kombat games right next to each other, it's like, what in the world? Like the
Right.
graphics are so insane to the point where like you used to have nightmares when you were a kid at that age. Imagine now looking at that being underage. It's like, holy smokes.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. And like the acceptance of it is like main culture, I think. Where like you know, where you get that high quality games nowadays. I can download it for $20 on my Xbox for my 7-year-old.
Yeah.
Right, like a really high quality kind of strange. He plays this goose game and. Minecraft, of course.
Is that the one where you play as a goose and you just like go around messing with neighbors and stuff?
You just literally mess with this poor guy's farming, like, and then you know my kid's learning terrible, absolutely terrible.
I've
like,
seen that.
like
It's hilarious.
Here,
It's
yeah.
hilarious.
But it's a high quality game where you know back in the day, as far as like how it looks and the feel of it, but yeah, back in the day, I think only certain games got to that point. So,
yeah, and really, I think you hit it right on the nail, like, or right on the head of the nail. It's really came to a point now where it's just instant access, like that instant gratification. Whereas to when it was in the arcade, you'd have to like convince your parents, like, hey, can I have money to go to the arcade? And then they have to schedule out trying to take you there and then picking you up. And now it's just like, hey, I'm gonna play on my Xbox. And they're like, okay, do your homework.
and it's interesting. It's such a motivator too for young people now. My middle son Tristan, he's 5. His life revolves around playing games on his Kindle, and he talks about it though. Like, so it's one of those where I think my parents and a generation before us were worried about screen time, right? And now I talk to my wife and I say like, yeah, we gotta make sure he's charging his brain, right, working outside, but also the ones who got into video games and let that kind of flourish are the ones making them now.
Yep.
And those people are employable.
Yeah.
Those people are making a lot of money right now.
Tons.
Yeah, designing games. And then, you know, we have opportunities like this where, you know, what you guys do, that's not just a hobby. Like, there's actually professional gaming out there where, I mean, we have, you know, after talking with you guys the last few months, there are competitions that have a higher viewership than the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think my dad would believe me if I told him that.
I mean, like 20 years ago, if you would have told somebody, like, hey, by the way, there's going to be people playing video games at some point, and it's either going to be the same or surpass viewership of the Super Bowl, they would have looked at you and thought you were nuts.
Right, like, I still kind of think that's a crazy...
It is crazy.
Right, because the Super Bowl, like, we compare... Like, I teach political science over Wichita State. I know I'm a boring human. But I'll tell you, like, I talk about, okay, the presidential election is like the Super Bowl of elections. Like, you might not pay attention to the mid-year elections or the governor's elections or local elections, but everyone kind of pays attention to the presidential elections.
That's the one.
Right, which same thing with the Super Bowl, where like you might not watch any game at all, but you'll go to a Super Bowl party, right?
Yeah.
People pay attention to
You
it.
might not even watch football.
Right, exactly. But you might watch, if you watch one game, it's like the Super
It's almost
Bowl.
like a holiday.
Right.
Don't you think?
Well, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, it's an American cultural experience, right?
Yep.
But what you guys are doing, what's happening in this industry, is literally numbers-wise bigger than that as far as viewership. I mean, the potential's huge.
And I know that you know this, but it's really about trying to get a group of people that may not necessarily have had a chance. The internet is great in the sense to where anybody from anywhere can compete and get better, but they may not have the access they need to, or the tools they need to become a better player. Some people just need a little bit extra help, and so we really strive ourselves on recruiting more talent, training more talent, and then getting them in leagues and tournaments that they never would have the opportunity to compete in. And I think just in the year that we've been in business, it's proven that there's a huge group of Wichitans that see the value in it, and I mean, now we just reached over 350 Wichita Wolves, which is
Wow.
bonkers, absolutely bonkers. Everything from local designers, graphic designers, or video editors, or players, or management. I mean, it's insane.
So the culture around it seems really interesting to me. Where early on, before COVID, right, before we had to wear these. By the way, it's my Sub-Zero mask. That's
I like it. I like it.
You know,
Are you getting ready to like throw
I
out?
mean, you never know, right? You never know. People ask, why are you wearing a mask? And usually I'm like, well, because it keeps people safe. But
Yeah.
then I'll also, like, one person I tweeted back, and also I look like Sub-Zero, so like,
Yeah.
why wouldn't I?
Of course.
So
Easy Halloween costume.
right, exactly. So, but before we had to wear these, we actually, a buddy of mine, not buddy, council member Johnson, and I attended I think it was at Wichita State. It was a gaming competition.
Yep. Midwest
and-
Esports Convention.
Right,
Yep.
and we don't know what this is. Right, we're not cool. We're old
Oh
folks
my
who play Mortal Kombat, and then but to be exposed to that, right? Like as someone who never seen it, there were people in cosplay. There were people who were competing, and then people who were just kind of playing on the sideline with other folks. It was an accepting, like an open kind of environment. Like you
Yeah.
didn't feel like the spectators. It felt like the people who were there to watch were active in it, right?
Yeah.
Like they had like a place, and they weren't just spectators; they were
Sure.
part of this. And I thought that was very interesting. And and the service you guys are providing
Yeah.
is that community.
I think it's really important that, throughout time, and especially like when video games became more popular, the 80s, the 90s, and the 2000s, where you kind of see this stigma of like gamers are like kind of not welcomed, or they're like not the cool kids in town. They're definitely not invited to any gatherings, and unfortunately, like what you see on television, like that's transitioned to real life. And so a lot of people, like, they may just play video games by themselves, but it brings them like a breath of fresh air that they have a place to feel comfortable with one another and feel accepted. And so that's another huge thing is, we are competitive at the end of the day, but giving people a safe place to compete and meet other people, like that's
right.
priceless. And
People who share values.
yeah, of course.
And I'll tell you, I never understood watching video games. Like now, my son, all he wants to do is watch somebody play Minecraft. He is a particular person he likes to watch who. The commentary is not really that appropriate. Sometimes, he gets a little bit of an attitude, and we think he learns it from this guy.
Sure.
But I never understood it when my nephew moved in with us years ago. He would not only watch video games, but him and his friends would stay up playing games. Well, he was from New Hampshire, so it actually helped him stay connected with his friends from New Hampshire, and also his buddy from New Hampshire, but was going to school in Florida. Like it was a way to get together and be social. That really isn't an opportunity that my generation growing up had. Like we had to play.
At all.
Yeah, we had to play at the arcade. We had to play Sega,
Mm-hmm.
but I couldn't play Sega with someone across the country.
Yeah.
So very cool the way it's evolved, and it's an economic driver now.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just kind of blown up, and I'm excited that we're trying to get here in Wichita those opportunities, pretty much a piece of this in our community to folks who would be interested in this.
Yeah, it blows my mind that there are people that want to move to Wichita just to come to this facility or to like work with the Wolves, like at LAN tournaments or anything like that. It really just speaks. We have a team that just traveled here for a Rainbow Six Siege team for a tournament, and these are people that we met online. They met online, never met each other at all. And after we did all, got their COVID testing and the social distancing and stuff here, it creates an experience that no other amateur team or even tier 2 team right now is able to recreate. And playing online with people and meeting people is something that you can't really put a price on, but then getting to meet those people in person,
right?
It's insane.
Right. No, I'm sure. And then you stay in contact, stay in communication.
Yeah.
The social aspect. I don't think used to be there. I think that was part of my mom's criticism, right? Like if you're just playing video games by yourself,
go make friends.
That's no longer the case.
Nope.
So very interesting how this has evolved, and really where it's going, because it's only going to grow.
Yeah.
I think that economically it could be a driver. We talk about in Wichita, what can we do in Wichita to make us unique, to make us like the next Wichita by building on top of what we do well, and not trying to just to mimic something we're not to be the next Austin, but to be the next Wichita.
Sure.
And I think part of that is our gaming community is going to be part of that. And as I think you guys have expressed before, we don't really have that central Midwestern hub,
Yeah.
right? Like you have, I think Texas is doing some stuff.
Yeah.
You have some definitely, Boston, definitely the big cities are doing stuff. What is the going to be that Midwestern hub? And if it could be Wichita, we'd be bringing people in to compete, building that community, but also they're spending money. It helps us economically.
Yeah.
Folks will come to Wichita who might not realize like what we have here.
Yeah.
Coming from New Hampshire, over a decade ago, I didn't think that I didn't know what Wichita was, like
Sure.
all the stuff it had to offer, and obviously it worked out well for me. I love Wichita, right?
Right.
So trying to bring people in, we have an opportunity to probably sell Wichita to a higher level of folks who might make this their home after visiting.
Yeah, and that's really our goal, is to become like the official esports team for Wichita, and it is a lengthy process. There's a lot of things and a lot of conversations that we need to have, but to put Wichita on the map in technology and being the face or the leader of a new frontier, that's our goal, and ultimately to give people here a home for that. So let's get into one of the other questions. Yeah, that first question put us onto a huge
that's
tangent.
all right.
That's fine. So this is kind of like a hot button topic right now, because a lot of collegiate programs or esports and high schools are getting into them. So what is your overall opinion of esports being in school, specifically high school and college?
So, I think that you got to kind of get over the bias against video games, right? Like,
Sure.
Obviously, for the benefits we talked about, we're talking about community, we talked about extracurricular activities. If it wasn't for my sport growing up, which was outside of high school, I probably never would graduate high school.
Yeah.
It allowed me both confidence, but also a community of folks who made high school bearable for me, right? Like I went to school with a couple friends who I also did my sport with.
Yeah.
So when it comes to increasing our graduation rates, when it comes to preparing folks for the digital economy,
Yeah.
for an economy in which utilizing software is going to be very important, I think this adds to that.
Yeah.
Now, I think one of the problems is going to be those generations who think video games and they kind of gloss over, right?
Sure.
Like they might not, like, oh, I'm not putting my kid to school to play video games, or why
Right.
is my tax dollars buying,
Right.
esports equipment?
Sure.
But the reality is, like, we need to be asking what's working. What's
Yeah.
working preparing our kids for the future? What's working when it comes to keeping them in school? What's working for the mental health
What's
of our
next?
students? Right.
Yeah.
And preparing them for that next, whatever next is. Which,
Sure.
you and I, what is next in the next 5 to 10 years, it might be something we can't even come up with today. Like,
Yeah.
we can make guesses, but our economy, our technology is changing so fast that
That's insane.
we're not really sure what the next 5 years is, but we do know we can start taking steps towards that because technology is that path forward. The driver of growth has been technology. So when you get kids interested, or young people, they're not really kids, right? Interested in, at the high school level, in esports, I think they're going to now understand processing. They're going to understand how software works. They're going to understand the workings of a computer. They're going to understand, they have these technological lessons that are going to help them,
Yeah.
regardless if they continue to become a professional or if they go into accounting, right? Like,
Well, and
whatever they
it's
do
much
out
more
there.
than just sitting down on mouse and keyboard and a controller and playing video games. There's so much more that goes into it, like the software side of it, the hardware, the game
Right.
development, the game design, graphics design. We're here in the CLX studio, like running studio types of streams. It's a whole different industry, and when people think of video games, some people just like, oh,
Right.
they're sitting down playing video games, not doing anything. When really you're learning a whole new list of traits that you may not have had a chance to learn. So.
And you're right, because it also gets into not just playing video games, but designing games, or even designing the cases, or you can get into the architecture of how this stuff works.
Yeah.
And I think it's a lot of it is a really great way to expose high school students to technology.
Yeah.
There's what was it? Tom Sawyer, the book Tom Sawyer, right? Not that I've ever read this in the last 20 years. But he tricks a bunch of people
Right.
to like paint a fence or something by saying, "Hey, this is fun." I'm not saying we're tricking folks into learning about technology, but this is definitely a fun way to show students about technology
Yeah.
for the benefits you mentioned. So yeah, I'm for it. I think it's a good idea. I do think we're gonna see some resistance from people who might not understand what the benefits are. But yeah, I'm an ally, and you got a following. We can do anticipating that type of pushback. We can talk about the benefits so that it maybe puts some folks at ease when it comes to
Sure.
schools funding this type of stuff.
One thing that I didn't really anticipate with COVID is, everyone, as soon as it really starts hitting the presses and it's this huge scare because it's dangerous, everyone,
real.
all the business owners are at the edge of their seat. They're like, oh my gosh.
Right.
And so for us, that was 4 or 5 months after we started. I had no idea how
Right.
COVID was going to impact us. And it really is sad, but also great to say that we haven't slowed down in any shape or form. So recruitment has been at an all-time high for us. Graphic support, we also sell graphics and videos for people, like if they need stuff edited. Competing in tournaments, fan viewership, social media growth, it's all just grown exponentially. Right. And I think that it's really weird to see that a lot of things, they just have to stop because there's no other way around it.
Right.
And I think giving Wichita an alternate type of entertainment system, because no one can go watch a Wind Surge game right now.
Yeah, don't get me started on that.
Sure,
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's terrible, but we haven't stopped. And so anytime, someone wants to watch the Wolves play, not only are you watching in, your favorite game, but each game is its own ball. Each esport is its own ball.
Right.
So, Overwatch or Mortal Kombat, for example, think of that as like lacrosse. And not only are we competing in esports, but we're competing in 13 different sports, if you will. And so the viewership just comes from people that want to play Mortal Kombat. Or people like me that like watching Call of Duty, and then it's all of us at once that are kind of systematically viewing other types of esports.
Yeah, and I think that if, and I could be wrong with this, but growing up in the 90s and early 2000s, it was, if I could play Mortal Kombat and I could play Street Fighter, I could play the other type of fighting games.
Sure.
Right, because they were somewhat of a transferable skill. So, I think one of the things you're talking about is you might get some people who are attracted to certain titles, but that also can translate into other games as well.
Yeah.
And the COVID economy is very interesting. I think you're right. A lot of people are very nervous of where we're going right now with this virus. We got to keep in mind it's temporary.
Yeah.
And we also have to keep in mind it's just a stupid virus.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is not that it's not dangerous, but we know how it spreads. We know what it does, and it has no strategy.
Yeah.
It just wants to attach itself to our host, and that's it.
Yep.
So we can keep going forward by taking the proper steps to protect ourselves and to protect others. And part of that is, I think, going out when you need to. There are folks who, I don't go out very often unless I need to, or it's important. And we're seeing with the economy things changing. You can't buy a swimming pool right now.
Yeah.
Like we had to reuse the little kid filter for our pool the entire year
Wow.
that we had from last year. We just had to keep bleaching this thing, right? So you can't buy swimming pools because people are putting them in the backyards, overpriced on Amazon.
Yeah.
So it doesn't shock me that when people are looking, even bicycles, when they're looking at what can we do at home, this industry is picking up because, it's a. If you're not going out doing public gatherings, if you're not going to the movies, doing stuff like that, it makes sense that would happen at the house.
Yeah, and one thing that is really exciting for me to see is, and you hinted at it a little bit earlier from some of our past conversations, is, and granted, esports has had the help of the internet, something, that football didn't necessarily always have, but the NFL viewership, it's taken, 100+ years to get where it is now versus where esports, it's been like 10.
Right.
And the viewership is just the same. And actually, I don't know after this year what it will be, but it was estimated that esports would either be equivalent or just below the viewership of the NFL throughout the whole year by the end of 2021. And so because of COVID, we might actually surpass that.
Right.
League of Legends, are really popular, actually it's one of the most popular esports titles, just signed a deal with Buffalo Wild Wings.
Huh.
So the big bad biker, or like the softball, the men's softball team, once they go in to get some wings after their game, there's going to be League of Legends playing right above their booth, and they're going to be like, what in the world is this? So it's really just, at this point, it's everywhere, regardless if you don't want it to. It's just accepting it and realizing that this is the future.
That's right. It would be interesting. Because that's just adding to the exposure. So.
Yeah, sure. Ready for another question?
Yeah, what you got?
Okay.
Do this all day.
All day?
All day. I
Hey,
take tough questions.
No
all
longer
day.
30 minutes. We're gonna be here for
Right,
12
yeah.
hours.
I mean, I got one other meeting after this, but yeah, I'll take the tough questions. Go
Okay.
for it.
Do you have an idea of how esports can put Wichita on the map? And I know that we've talked about this a little bit, but more
Yeah, we
specifically.
touched on this. One of the things is like, my understanding is there isn't a Midwestern powerhouse for esports right now.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm sure Kansas State is doing some good stuff. I'm sure there's some who, but when it comes to the stuff that you guys are doing, this it's organic too. It's community driven. It's from the ground up. It's not me not knowing what I'm talking about, trying to make something happen.
Yeah.
And we gotta take advantage of that energy, of that vision, and with particularly with the Wolves, wanting to partner with the city, wanting to be the city's team. I mean, it's kind of dropping this opportunity in our lap, right?
Yeah.
So if we do it right, and I mentioned this, we might actually get better tourism. People coming in to actually, compete or to be a part of.
Watch a game.
Yeah, watch a game, compete in a game, be a part of it. Like I said, my very limited one-time experience showed that it was more community. It was more. It was a community type of environment. So I'm sure that that is going to do, because the competition for cities trying to get on the map for this, I think is lower in the Midwest right now.
Sure.
But also our central location. We do have high-speed internet here. We want to expand that, of course.
Yeah.
We do have the gaming community here, and by having, I guess, a city that wants to help foster this, we could, we could, if it's not Wichita State, we could lend out some of our bigger buildings, some of our spaces, and really do this better than other cities are doing.
Yeah, and I really like your word usage saying powerhouse, because that's truly what it would be. Just a little bit of fostering and community support, and you would have an esports franchise amongst a title or a plethora of games that people are supporting and cheering for Wichita Wolves. And I think becoming Wichita's first professional team, like that's my goal, is to be like the first professional sports or esports franchise for the city. I think that would be insane. Absolutely insane. And no one, if they thought of a professional franchise, they probably would have thought of something different, but never video games.
Right.
And here we are.
we worked really hard to get a professional or baseball team.
Yeah.
Like to get the not the Wingnuts. Give myself in trouble. The surge. The wind surge here, and and that's really good work. Like I want that stadium to open. That there's a lot of opportunity there.
Yeah.
And I don't want to, because you guys put a ton of work into this, so I don't want to act like it's not work. But for us to partner, we as a city, we can kind of come in and we don't have to build a stadium from scratch.
Yeah.
Right. We don't have to bring a team here. Like we already have a team. We already have the community. And as a city, we have we have the leagues that are, I guess they're called leagues. We're $10 for, I think it's 5-6 weeks to play. That we're trying to promote that in our city to people who want to be a part of this as well. It's trying to create that relationship through our Parks and Recs department and with you guys, so that we can take this to that next level.
Yeah, I think that'd be amazing. Looks like we are about out of time. So before we do, one thing that we always like to do for guests, do you have anything important going on right now? Any like podcasts that you're doing, or any type of stories or live streams that you have going on in the future?
Really, my goal is to be a accessible mayor, right? To be the person that isn't afraid to answer tough questions and to be out there with folks. So if I was to do a shameless plug, it would be that my Facebook page, it's facebook.com/vote Whipple.
Okay.
Every Saturday I do a live. I do a live, it's usually about 10:30.
Yeah.
So /live. And I tweet out before this and everything. Anyone can come and I just give an update. I have like this little mini, not a studio like this obviously, but a little setup I got, and I answer every question.
Yeah.
Every question that's asked, so long as it's a real question. This isn't really like a moment to troll, because we actually have full-on discussions.
Of course.
And if I see trolling, I'll actually call you out. Like, hey,
don't do that.
Person attacking folks, like, please.
I want to compliment you though, by the way,
that.
because I've been in your live streams and you've answered a lot of my questions, and I think that that's really cool that you're very transparent and willing to listen and just hear folks out. So good on you. Keep that
thanks.
up, for sure.
My goal is to do a lot of town halls to get out there with folks and to get the feel of like what people want from their city.
Sure.
And COVID put a stop to that. That was really upsetting, but luckily, we are seeing, I guess, more of like the Zoom economy, right? We're seeing more people get online and do videos.
Yeah.
Everyone went and bought a camera with little ring lights, so now it's easy for not only me to do this, but also folks to log on and to have those conversations.
Sure.
So yeah, I do remember you being on a couple of them. So
Yeah.
appreciate
I
it.
enjoy just listening, seeing all the updates and the food for thought that's on there. So.
Yeah, I try to keep them. I'm supposed to keep them around 20 minutes. They usually go about 34 minutes. 'Cause
Yeah.
usually like I wrap up, but I'm in politics and I'm also like I teach at the college level, so I'm also like kind of a professor. Literally like 2 fields where people talk too much, right?
Yeah.
So usually I'm like, all right, guys, I got to stop.
We
But
gotta
I
go.
had this
Seriously, no more
thought,
questions.
Right. But I thought about, yeah, exactly. And then I just professed for another
Yeah.
5 minutes. Kind of a funny tidbit. Our PR person over at Wichita, the city, her name's
Yeah.
Megan. She'll actually give me a signal by like touching her neck or something, some weird signal that she came up, which means like you are talking too long, you need to close it down, and
That's
you,
cool.
you became Professor Whipple all of a sudden, and
Sure.
no one cares anymore.
That's a
but-
solid wingman, by the way.
Yeah,
like,
I know, right?
Like she's ready to tell you, like, by the way, like it's time
Right.
to go.
And sometimes I tell her like, but I was getting to the punchline. But
Yeah.
Anyways, I'm
Sure.
trying to keep it short. But
So
that's
your
my
plug is what again? What's your link?
So plug is at facebook.com/vote Whipple,
Okay.
and on Saturdays I do my lives.
Cool.
If not, then come. You can post anything you want on there, and I try to respond. I'm better at responding to notifications than I am email.
Sure.
I like interacting on social media. Usually it takes me a while to realize people are screwing with me, right?
Yeah.
So sometimes I'll interact with someone and then realize it was in bad faith.
Yeah.
So
It's like, oh, okay.
right, and once in a while, I think I get defensive too soon. So
Yeah.
usually, just ask me anything, I'll actually get to it. But
Cool.
treat it like it was a normal conversation, and that helps me out because then I'll actually be able to have that discussion instead of assuming someone's just being
Sure.
angry.
Sure.
So,
Well, Mr. Whipple, we really appreciate your time coming on here.
of course,
My
thanks
name is
for having
Dylan
me.
Reese, Scrimmzy, President and CEO of the Wichita Wolves. Mr. Whipple, we're gonna have you on here again. It's
Yeah,
been great.
anytime.
Sure.
Anytime. This has been great.
Okay,
Thanks a lot,
guys, this is Hunting with the Wolves podcast, episode 10. We'll catch you on the next one. See ya.